Boom. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning word. It's time to throw those covers back, baby, and get out of that bed. Shake, rattle, and hum. Put your feet on the floor. Get into that kitchen and rattle those pots and pans. This morning, Mama has provided for me some Black Rifle coffee. Now look at this cup. That is a raised emblem. Now I don't know who, one of y'all or someone anonymously sent me a package to the church that included this cup, 2 bags of Black Rifle coffee, and a box of Black Rifle coffee Keurig cups. I don't know who that is, but you have an extra diamond or stone in your crown when we get to heaven. That's all I can tell you. Baby, you're right up there next to Moses. I mean, you are going to get a reward. I thank whoever it was for this wonderful gift. Hey, Mary and Brandy and Monty and Jim and Ramona and Robin and Kay and Al. Let's see who we got here. Desiree and Miss Nancy and Kim. Yeah, somebody, look at this. And Camellia and Brandy and Tess. Lord have mercy. Let's see who all we got in here that I don't want to skip anybody. Kim Barnett, good morning. Tess and Miss Victory. Buddy, what's going on, buddy? Hope you're doing well. My man Rob the Fox Wiggins. Uncle Bill. Paul Ford Shirley. Paul, put Buster on the phone. Hey, Wade, good morning to you. Gary Skipper, Sharon Shirley, look at y'all. Sharon, have you still got that chocolate hidden from Paul? Don't let him get in it. Hey, Cheryl from Pickens County, Alabama. What's up, Cheryl? Elaine and Mary Joyce, Eric, Kathy White. Good morning, good morning. Hey, Gail, how are you? And Benita. Miss Kayla Boone Davis. How you doing, Kayla? All your boys in the hood. And Tina Vining. Good morning. Mike Pate. There he is. Sharon, put Buster on the phone so we can talk to him. Doug Jones. What's up, Doug? Elaine, Camellia. Now, y'all, if y'all run into anybody that's got a 71 Chevelle SS396 automatic, and they just feel like they need to give it to somebody, y'all tell them to call me, all right? Hey, Diane. Hey, Faye. I thought about that when I saw Doug Jones. I got you, Sharon. Hide it. Sharon, you bring it to me, I'll eat it, and you won't have to worry about Paul finding it. Hey, Vanita. Susan Raymond, good morning. Heather, good morning to you. How are you and your crew? And Brenda, Daryl, look at Daryl, the mayor. Rhonda. Well, look at there. Scott Herndon's in Georgia. That's not fair, Scott. It's 7 o'clock in Georgia. You didn't have to get up early. All right. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Gail. Hey, Joe. I like that name, Joe. J-O. Joe. I like it. G-O, go, J-O, Joe. What's up, Danny Hicks? You're supposed to be making it happen. You ought to be nailing somewhere, holding a flashlight up so you can get it done. He'd come tear my house apart. Yeah, I know what he's going to say. Sharon, here's what he's going to say. Sharon, I don't care what I told you. I got to have some chocolate. Where's the chocolate? I know. Good. I'm glad. Heather. I'm glad, Scott. All right, here we go. Cups up. Toast to the morning word crowd. Black Rifle coffee. God bless you and God bless America. Boom. Woo! I like it. Hey, Jay Broughton. Okay, we're in Mark chapter 15. Mark chapter 15. Hey, Pam. Mark chapter 15, shout out to our school teachers, our first responders. God bless you. Keep you safe. Our police officers, our firefighters, our military personnel all around the world. God bless y'all. Thank you for the work that you do. One last request before we start on the scriptures. Please, if you would, just share this and ask the people that you share it with to share it. That's how we get the word out. Okay, Mark chapter 15. Morning has dawned. Jesus has been arrested. He's already been in a mock trial at night with a small group. Now he's going to before Pilate with the Sanhedrin to stand before Pilate. All right. Now, why has he got to go stand before Pilate? Because the Jews have decided to kill Jesus, but they don't have the authority to execute anyone. That has to come from Rome. And so if you'll notice, if you pay close attention to the scriptures, what the Jews decided to kill Jesus about, that carried no weight with the Romans, unless it was some threat to the Roman or breaking of a Roman law. It didn't matter. So all the accusations that the Sanhedrin brings against Jesus before Pilate is nothing that they discussed privately amongst themselves when they came to the decision to kill Jesus. All right. So immediately in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and they bound Jesus and led him away and delivered him to Pilate. Then Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered and said to him, "It is as you say." And the chief priests accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. Then Pilate asked him again, "Do you answer nothing? See how many things they testify against you?" But Jesus still answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled. Now at the feast, he, that's Pilate, was accustomed to releasing one prisoner to them, whomever they requested. And there was one named Barabbas, who was chained with his fellow rebels. They had committed murder in the rebellion. Then the multitude, crying aloud, began to ask him to do just as he had always done for them. In other words, release a prisoner to us. But Pilate answered and said to them, "Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" Pilate is trying his best to let Jesus go. All right. Why? Next verse says, "Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" For Pilate knew that the chief priest had handed him, that's Jesus, over because of envy. In other words, he knows that they have Jesus before Pilate on trumped up charges. He knows that this has been a kangaroo court. He knows that Jesus is not guilty of whatever it is that they're accusing him of. And some of the things that they had accused him of before Pilate was that this man said he's a king. This man tells us not to pay taxes to Caesar, so forth and so on. So they're trying to amp up Pilate. And Pilate is seeing through the facade. Verse 11, "But the chief priest stirred up the crowd so that they should rather release Barabbas to them. Pilate answered and said to them again, what then do you want me to do with him whom you call the king of the Jews?" So they cried out again, "Crucify him." Then Pilate said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wanting to gratify the crowd, released Barabbas to them, and he delivered Jesus after he had scourged him to be crucified. So what we have here is a man, Jesus, who has been brought up on trumped up charges, betrayed by a so-called friend, stabbed in the back, brought before the Jewish council, who are looking for a reason to kill him because they are envious. Why are they envious? Because Jesus is a threat to their position and to their power. I started to call today's morning word politics, but I called it the crowd, because the crowd is the one that you have to appease. The crowd is the one that you have to appease. The crowd is the one who carries the weight. All right. Now, notice what we got going on here. The Jewish Sanhedrin, even though they've made up their mind to crucify Jesus, they cannot do it, okay, against the will of the crowd, because they know the crowd will vote them out, put them out, have an insurrection, kill them, so forth. So look at what it says over here in verse 11. But the chief priest stirred up the crowd. They stirred up the crowd. And then they bring Jesus to Pilate, and Pilate sees through it, and he's trying to manipulate with his best statesmanship around killing Jesus, and offers to let him go as a prisoner to them. But the crowd is stirred up, and they are saying, crucify him, crucify him. Now, Pilate is afraid of the crowd starting an insurrection or a riot. We know that he has already been warned some about the condition, the situation of the Jews, and that the Jews have said that Jesus is speaking out against Caesar and Rome. So Pilate is trying to preserve his position and his power and not let things get out of hand. So he tries to gratify the crowd. All right. So one group is stirring up the crowd and the other one is trying to appease or gratify the crowd. Now, your grandparents probably told you, or they should have, most of you are my age or maybe a little bit younger, that you don't need to be running with the wrong crowd, all right? You need to pay attention to the crowd that you're running with. And you need to pay attention, if my grandmother used to say, I said, well, everybody else is doing it. And that just grinds my gears to this day when I hear my children say it, especially my teens and my preteens. Well, everybody else is doing it. Everyone else is doing it. And my grandmother used to say, well, if everyone goes down there to the river bridge and jumps off, are you going? Okay? Think about where the crowd is going. Think about what the crowd is saying. Think about what the crowd is going to do or what the crowd is doing and weigh it, because the crowd has a source of information. And the crowd is acting according to the source of information. So you have to consider the sources of the information. And right now, let me tell you how this is playing out with politics and crowds in the United States of America and in a lot of the world. You know, all the stuff that's going on with Hamas and Palestine and Israel, and everybody is shouting, even in the streets of New York City and cities around America, blue cities, by the way. From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. So it's on Facebook and it's on Instagram and it's on TikTok, all these reels where these people are interviewing the crowd. And they're saying, what river are you talking about? I don't know. Well, what sea are you talking about? I don't know. So the crowd is chanting what they've heard, but they don't even know what they're saying. From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. And I'm not going to even get into the politics and the geography. You can Google it. Be careful. Google is a source. And so they have no idea. They're just running up and down the road saying, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, coming against the Jews, and got no idea why they're saying it. Okay? So politics and power is reliant upon the crowd, even if they have to coerce or threaten the crowd to keep it silent. It's still the crowd that they're trying to appease. It's still the crowd that they're trying to appease. So when we see information being released on television, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, so forth and so on, I said it's not TikTok anymore. Yeah, it's X, whatever. That we have to consider the source, because they are trying to channel and direct and limit the information that the crowds hear. We call that in this country censorship, because they're trying to manipulate the ideology, okay, of the crowd. They're trying to control the crowd's thinking and guide them in a certain way by controlling the information that they are receiving. That's why you need to get information from more than one source. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Consider the source. Okay? If it's a liberal source, conservative source, okay, biblical source, educational source, whatever. You have to consider the sources. And so the Jews knew that they needed all of the Jews together on their side. So they stirred up the crowd. And Pilate was threatened by what the crowd might do, and that they were getting whipped up into a frenzy, that he tried to gratify the crowds. And in both situations, it was the crowd that called for the crucifixion of Jesus. Now, here is the sad part. Here's the sad part when we stop to think about it honestly. If we had been there, we would have been in one of two crowds. One of two crowds. The crowd that was shouting, "Crucify him," or the crowd that knew better but said nothing. And that's why we're in the situation we're in today. We are of a crowd of people that know better, but we are remaining silent because we are afraid of the other crowd. And Pilate, the Jews, and Pilate knew that they were putting an innocent man to death. They killed a man. Pilate killed a man and then washed his hands and tried to put it over on the crowd, but he was not the one that gave the execution command. The sources will always, listen, they try to incite the crowd, and then once they do something illegal, improper, immoral, or whatever, then they blame the crowd. Okay? And both crowds are guilty. One for calling for the execution of an innocent man, of which they were ignorant. They'd just been driven by frenzy and emotionalism. And the other crowd that knew better but didn't say anything. Both were guilty. And if we'd have been there, we'd have been in one of those two crowds. So look around and pay attention to the crowds. Make sure that you're following the right. Everybody's in a crowd. I don't care who it is. Everybody's in a crowd. That means a group of people that have certain ideas, ideologies, agendas, thought patterns, values, morals, whatever. Everybody's in a crowd. Biker crowds, yoga crowds, political crowds, sports crowds. Just pay attention to the crowd you're running in. You know why? Because they're going to either get your butt in a sling. All right? That crowd is either going to get your butt in a sling, or they're going to be the ones who have your back. You need to be in the ones that have your back at all times. So be careful of the crowds that you run with. We as parents, we run in crowds. There's that backstabbing crowd, that gossiping crowd, that cheating crowd, that lying crowd. We all running with them somewhere. That Baptist crowd versus that Pentecostal crowd. We all in them. We all in a crowd somewhere. Be careful. Don't let other people stir you up to do something stupid. And don't be silent when you see other people doing the wrong thing. Stand up, speak up, start a new crowd if you have to. Start a new crowd if you have to. We'll see you tomorrow. Good Lord willing in the Sing Storm.